Alexa, set the timer for 15 minutes. That's videoing, right?
15 minutes, starting now.
So, I know we met last week and we talked a little bit. We kind of ended things about what are you doing for yourself. Does that sound like where you thought we were sort of at with things?
Yeah, I think that one of my major problems is that I don't really take the time to practice any form of self-care. It's pretty much all work and school, and I don't really do as much for myself as I probably should, specifically with like the line of work that I do.
Okay.
And how that can like really weigh on you.
So, do you want to talk about that at all, or what a typical day looks like? And
I think that's part of the problem. My days aren't really typical or predictable in any way, shape, or form. I work in a setting where it's like I can go in and there'll be the kids I left the unit with will be completely different the next day.
Okay.
So I never know what I'm walking into. So there's kind of like an anxiety.
Okay.
That always is just present before I get to work. So I really have no clue what type of unit I'm gonna walk onto.
Okay.
The next day or the next shift or anything like that. Yeah.
Are there other people there that have been good like mentors or resources to talk to about how they handle, where you work?
Yeah, the clinicians are pretty great. Like they like to, when they know that we have a hard group of kids that we're working with that are like really, really like mentally and emotionally draining.
Yeah.
They do check in with us during the shift at some point to like make sure that like we're okay to be like on the floor working with these kids for 8 hours at a time. They're pretty great. And then my coworkers, I can honestly say that I work with a great group of people that love to like really support and be there for each other.
Okay.
I know that that's not something that I've had at other jobs, and it's definitely been helpful with dealing with a lot of the things we deal with on the job at this one.
So, kind of a little bit, so are there people there that are kind of more experienced than you or that have worked there longer?
Yeah, I've worked there for about almost 2 years. This December makes 2 years. There's a couple of people who have worked there for 3 or 4 years.
Is there anyone that's worked there longer than that?
There is one. He's the floor supervisor. He's been there for 18 years.
Okay. So have you ever talked to him about how, what's kind of like his coping skills or what he's done to be able to stay in a kind of a stressful situation for so long?
He's told me that the unit's changed a lot from the way it used to be.
Okay.
The administration has changed, and we kind of have a revolving door when it comes to staff members at CVIT, just because it's a really draining job that very rapidly leads to burnout in some people.
Okay.
So like he's told me that like it's changed a lot since he's been there, and they've been positive changes. So like knowing that when it's tough and it feels like things aren't running the way that they're supposed to, that change will always happen, and it'll help like make things run smoother. As for what he does personally to get through it, he says that it's very important to like when you leave the unit, like take time to yourself to just do something that you like that will take your mind off of whatever happened on the unit that day. I haven't personally been able to practice this, but that's what he says he does to help him get through like really bad shifts.
So can you think of some other jobs that might be like super stressful or have kind of similar, when you said you never know what you get that day or whatever? Not necessarily like at your place of work, but just in general.
Well, I had
like,
another job that was like in a similar.
Yep.
A previous
but like
job.
just other like just random, in the world. Can you think of other jobs that might have the same types of things?
A crisis clinician.
Okay.
An EMT.
Okay.
emergency room doctor.
Yeah. Okay.
I guess a nurse.
Right. Maybe a policeman.
Yeah, policeman.
Okay.
Fireman.
So one of the things that might be worth exploring is just kind of, again, just even doing a Google search or whatever, and maybe you'll find stories of how those people kind of de-stress, so that we can get you to where you don't have so much anxiety going in, and it's quicker to decompress, leaving. So we've talked long term, you'll probably, leave, but you, for the next year, how do I kind of deal with that? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it makes sense. I mean, they also have a very large window of uncertainty when it comes to their job, so they
Right.
would be able to provide me with some.
I'm just
useful
thinking there might be some
resources.
stories, or
Yeah.
I bet you have me curious too, so I'll probably do look for some exercises or some
Mhm.
things, and I know for sure that the next time if I ran into someone in one of those types of jobs, that's probably something that I would ask them, how they deal with it. But kind of back to our main focus was around, it was, we talked last time about self-care. So what I wanted to do is see if I could have you just take a few minutes and do a exercise that I found about self-care. So so that we can sort of look at this and set up some goals. So it's a pretty simple worksheet that you just rank, you just check off that I do this poorly, I do this okay, I do this well, and then this column is, these are things that I'd like to work on.
Okay.
So does that make sense? So I really liked this spreadsheet because it talks about your physical, psychological and social kind of well-being. So just take a few minutes.
Okay.
And I'll give you that. Is that okay to, and then I think that'll really help you to kind of see where the patterns might be and so forth.
So if I want to improve on it, I would put a star. Can I do that for things that I think I do poorly too? Like, am I putting a check on? I do this poorly, and I do this. I want to work on it.
So this is the column that I want to work on it, and then so you just check it into the 1, 2, or 3.
And then I can also, like, for example, this one is rest when sick, and I do this poorly. So would I check that I want to work on it too?
If that's something that you think you want to work on. So, how'd you feel after filling that out?
Spiritual self-care is not really a thing for me, just because I don't think I've ever really taken the time to think about where I am or what I believe in spiritually. As for everything else, socially, I need probably all the help in the world, because I don't make time for a social life at all. My social life pretty much is school and work.
Okay.
But yeah, I think that's definitely something I need to work on, because I don't put a lot of effort into that. And I also apparently, now that I think about it, don't really put time in to do the things that I really enjoy, like exploring my hobbies or anything like that.
Okay.
So kind of.
So we kind of, you know, as we went through this, you sort of bucketed things. So if you had, so was there a certain category? It sounds like the social self-care category might be where you felt like you wanted to work on the most, or?
Yeah, I think my social category kind of just reminded me that like I don't really make time for the people in my life that I like really like to spend the most time with. Like I haven't really made time for my best friend in a while, and can imagine how he feels about that. And like I don't really, I don't know, it kind of make me feel bad. Like I don't put in enough effort to see them or spend the needed time with them.
Okay. So and it sounded like what you were saying is that you were comfortable where you felt spiritually and professionally.
Yeah, like I dedicate my whole life really outside of school to my job. Like I pride myself on doing my job and doing it really well, almost to the point of putting not too much effort, but too much time and resources into my job. Like I feel like I take all the energy that I have and could put towards like being social and giving into my hobbies. I take all of that and put it into work, and there's like nothing left when I'm done with it.
Okay. So when you say you put it into work, are you putting it in physical hours and thinking about it too much? So Alexa, shut off the timer.